I'm like, oh.
Peace out.
Welcome, Cowabunga.
Spidey edition.
Dudes.
First
This is a-
comic reviews.
First comic review.
Yeah.
Ultimate Spider-Man back. And
The Return of the Ultimate Universe. Yeah, 1610 is the name of the Ultimate Universe. I personally went for it, became a big fan of it, just because it was more edgier. I mean, so basically, for those of you that don't know, the Ultimate Universe was brought in as just like a modern version of the Marvel Universe.
I started piggybacking off of
Yeah,
reading
I mean,
comics.
I'm not gonna be
pretty
100% right here, but I want to say it was like late 90s, early 2000s. Marvel just wanted to, start a whole new run and just reimagine the universe if it was brought into like that day and age, which was like the grunge era, the punk era. There's a little bit more attitude. The clothes were baggy. So it was just a cool like reimagining of it. People of our generation related to it like very well because it was our generation. It was our music. It was like you were reading the comic of Spider-Man if he was listening to Blink-182 and Linkin Park, and it was different than Peter Parker from 1962 because that Peter Parker grew up with like in the 60s, and he was proper and he dressed proper and he combed his hair, while the Ultimate Universe had like the hair part down the middle. And on top of that, Brian Michael Bendis wrote that, and he's just like a legendary writer.
Oh yeah.
And it was like the way he envisioned it was like if John Hughes was writing like a Spider-Man story, because it was like a really young Peter Parker in high school. So you have the heartbreaks, you have the arguments with the parents, which is Uncle Ben and Aunt May. He's kind of like has a chip on his shoulder, and he's just trying to figure out growing up. Anyways, when they said that they were bringing back the Ultimate Universe, I was so excited. But I was also like, well, I related to that Spider-Man because I was a teenager reading Spider-Man as a teenager, so that was cool. Well, now I'm an adult. I have kids. I don't know how much I'm going to relate to a teenage Peter Parker figuring out how to be Spider-Man, because now it's like, as an adult you have things like a job and you have bills and but now, I mean, then we found out that they were giving us an adult Peter Parker, 35 years old, getting bit by the spider. The backstory of this Ultimate Universe, long explanation short, there's this character named the Maker, which is basically the Ultimate Universe version of Mr. Fantastic, who has turned evil, and he has like changed this entire world. He's the reason why Peter never got bit by the spider as a teenager. He created a world where there is no heroes. The Tony Stark of this universe found that out, and now he's bringing the heroes back. But anyways,
yeah, I was not aware of that beforehand, so I was like,
oh, who the Maker was?
Yeah.
It's an evil Reed Richards.
and I wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for him explaining. Yeah, so let's get in the story. Basically it opens up in New York. He's with his wife and kids, kind of like a normal morning for that. That's, so to speak. You're waking up with your wife and kids. Your kids are eating breakfast. You're getting off to work. Wife kisses you goodbye.
Drinking coffee.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean, you can notice that.
Oh, and
he
looks
has a beard.
awesome. Yeah. He looks awesome. His hair is like feathered. Yeah, he looks so cool.
Oh yeah. Usually I have that like Josh Keaton, Yuri Lowenthal voice in my head.
Yeah.
For every Peter.
Like when you're reading
dude's
comics?
vastly, like, he looks different. Vastly. Probably the most different Peter.
Wait, so you hear the PS4 voice when you read comics?
Yeah, I've always kind of had like that type of voice.
I think I more hear Andrew Garfield.
What about you?
Yeah, I hear Andrew Garfield in my head.
Okay, that's interesting.
Let us know what Spider-Man voice you guys hear when you guys read comics. You're kind of like, okay, there's a twist here. He's not Spider-Man yet. Well, Uncle Ben's alive, and he's part of the Daily Bugle.
Yeah.
He's a managing editor.
When he was all like, Parker. Hey Peter, but he's like, Parker. I was like, hold up.
It's something seeing
him and J. Jonah Jameson are friends.
JJ and Uncle Ben going back and forth with each other. It's kind of cool, but they're not enemies. They're cool.
He's like friends with both Parkers. Yeah, it's a trip.
Yeah, well then it leads to they're going to like this memorial for a terrorist attack that happened.
That's right.
A terrorist attack and framed Tony Stark. So right now New York hates Tony Stark because they think he did this terrorist attack, and that's why there was all those dead people at the memorial, like Norman Osborn and May Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you find out that Harry and Peter don't even know each other. You know, because Harry's doing his speech and Peter's like, Mary Jane's like, oh yeah, I met that guy once. And, you know, Peter's like, yeah, he seems intense. Like they weren't best buds in this universe. And
he seems a little more psycho.
Yeah, and the jokes make fun of everybody.
The goblin appearance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, there's a goblin appearance in
We
the
skipped
goblin
that.
show.
Yeah,
We don't know who that is.
My money's on Harry. Just for starters.
I'm sure Harry's involved,
We'll see.
but I think it's too
Norman
obvious.
was on the tombstone, but I mean, it is a comic book, so he could
maybe a grandkid.
Honestly,
it could be Norman, but they want to try and bring us in with something new. Too.
Yeah. The
writers got to be at hard.
It might not even be.
I hope you writers are at hard work because I mean, if we're just theorizing right now and we're nailing it, cool. But at the same time,
I mean,
give us something that we're not even expecting.
It's got to be hard.
Which was his first issue.
It's got to be really hard to sit in those little writer rooms and try to come up with a good idea. Yeah. After so many years of comics,
and they know too,
you know what I mean. After so many storylines, it's like it's already been done. Like, we can't have Dr. Octopus be Peter Parker. Well, they already did that. Kingpin.
Yeah, Kingpin.
Yeah,
and,
so then after
Matt
that,
Murdock
you find, Matt Murdock is the priest, like, having a speech at the memorial.
I had the Charlie Cox voice in my head. It was sweet.
Oh, that's cool. And then you go back to the Daily Bugle after that. It's a pretty emotional, part. I'm not trying to just blow past it.
The writing, the screenplay. Yeah.
The
speech bubbles actually are really good speech bubbles in this. I mean, from Uncle Ben and JJ talking to each other,
chilling at that bar.
Basically,
it's so cool.
Yeah, Uncle Ben giving a new sort of speech to Peter Parker was pretty epic to read. That feeling of you're reading something that's bigger than a book that happens between those two, and can't wait to see what they bring up more. For this first run.
Yeah, and then Uncle Ben and J. Jonah Jameson, they both quit the Daily Bugle because Kingpin's running it, and he wants to go a different direction with it, a corrupt direction, and
low blow to Uncle Ben.
Yeah, but I will say in the first Ultimate Comics, the first villain is Kingpin. Like, Kingpin is like the first story arc villain that Peter Parker kind of faces. Like, he kind of stands up and he's like, is nobody else going to point out that this is a bad guy? Because he has everybody in his pocket. So Peter Parker kind of makes it his own like personal vendetta to go against him.
If you're looking to jump into this and you kind of feel the same way where, you grew up with a younger Spider-Man of the modern era and now you're, you have kids of your own or you're just,
you went through
older.
Life. You went through,
life. There's a lot of,
yeah.
This is, I think, the start of a good story to relate to. And I think ultimately Spider-Man is the most relatable comic book character, aside from, crawling and swinging from building to building and dealing with crazy adversaries.
he talks to Mary Jane. She's his wife, okay? So she knows everything he knows, right? They communicate. So she knows that Tony Stark left him the spider. And basically Peter Parker's lived his whole life being a good man, doing everything he needs to do, being mature, taking care of his kids, doing everything a man's supposed to do, but probably hiding his own emotions, catering to everybody else's needs and not his. So inside he feels a little empty, like something's missing, but he doesn't let that feeling stop him from being the man he has to be, being the father he has to be, or the husband he has to be, providing. Yeah, so
that's what you get from reading this.
Yeah, that's what it's a really good Spider-Man comic, and Spider-Man's not even in it. It's Peter Parker, Yeah. But basically, Mary Jane knows what he's going through, and she's like, if this is something you want to do it. Just promise me you'll still love me. And he's like, of course.
Future hologram Tony Stark comes out of here, kind of like a hologram Jor-El talking to Superman. And this is basically like, here, you need to do this, or this is,
the world needs you.
Missing. So you see Spider-Man open up this canister.
It's so
and the
epic.
spider's already huge, and it goes on his hand.
Thinking about it. No words, too.
But what's cool is that Peter Parker smiles at it. Like, he knows, like he's excited about it, and that's what's cool. That's what I like about it, and it bites him.
That last panel, though, was stuck in my head.
Spider-Man. It looks like a black suit. It looks like a practice suit, but I don't know. It could have just been a silhouette.
We'll see.
But yeah, it was epic. It's like after that, then I reread it again because now, because it starts off with him and Mary Jane kind of hinting at something major had happened and they need to communicate. So as you read the comic, you find out it is this whole thing with Tony Stark and the spider. But, first time reading it, you don't realize that till you get to the end of the comic. So as soon as I finished it, I reread it, now knowing what they're talking about, you know, like why they need to communicate and why Peter feels like, why he talks to Uncle Ben and he feels like you know, like they need to talk, you know, why.
Lost.
Yeah, he's lost. He needs guidance. Yeah,
Yeah.
Thanks, Mikey.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was amazing. I loved it. I wanted to get the Mark Bagley variant cover, but they were sold out by the time I got to the comic shop after work.
There's a ton of variants.
It was being like bought off the shelves at my local comic shop. I don't know what it was like where you guys, where your guys' comics were at. For the viewers, you know, at your shops, but at our shops, it was like being taken off the shelves.
Yeah,
so all I could get was the original print, which is fine. I love it.
They
But
said
I really wanted
extra, right? Just for this?
Yeah, but they said it was like flying off the shelves.
Would you let a spider that big bite you?
Almost like
if it has powers, count me in.
All right, what about that spider that bit Sydney Sweeney on that movie?
Yeah. Wolf spider.
What was it called? Not
is it
I would have taken the bite for Sydney Sweeney.
Oh,
because she looked like she was in pain, so I would have taken it for her. But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna let a spider bite me, unless I'm guaranteed to get powers.
Yeah. Realistically, you'll end up in a hospital, but
like Adam West in that Family Guy.
Yeah, there is a chance
to get superpowers.
Yeah. If there's a 1% chance.
Stage 4 lymphoma.
Yeah. Oh my.
What were you thinking?
There's going to be a lot of differences, not just with Spider-Man, but with everybody. The X-Men, Captain America, I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Like, probably past relationships.
I wonder if Gwen's still alive.
You know, there's
I wonder if there was even ever a Gwen.
Brandt. All right, so let's get into rating this first issue. Now, remember, we'll probably do a final one as a whole for the first volume, which will probably be about 6 to 7 issues. But for this first one, if it's worth your money to go and pick up, I would say yes. 9.8 Shell Yaz out of 10 Shell Yaz.
Nothing.
Spider-Man is finally like
nothing too actiony happened, but it was very captivating.
I don't know if I'll rate it See, I want to reserve my high ratings for something truly spectacular.
That's
something more with Spider-Man in it, but I mean, I'm not gonna argue with your rating. I could agree.
I would say at least a 9 or 8.
Yeah. I think
if I give it a 7, it felt criminal.
I'm gonna give it an 8 right now, just because I'm gonna wait to reserve like my 9 and 10s for the Spider-Man like parts of it all.
That's fair. I'll do the same. I'll do the same.
You know, obviously it did take him long. There's a lot of learning curves. I mean, one of the storylines back then was called Learning Curves.
I was gonna say that. Yeah. That was a nice play.
This one, he's 35. He's older. He's mature. He probably knows more what he's doing, and he can't afford to make any mistakes because he's a father. You know, he can't slip up. He's got kids that he also has to protect. So who knows? He's probably gonna he's probably gonna get a hang of it quicker.
Good.
Cowabunga dudes.
Cowabunga dudes.
Cowabunga dudes.